Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Gift and you're welcome to Gift and Say Couture. So in today's tutorial, I want us to learn how to cut this beautiful pleated trouser with overlapping top. So if this is your first time of coming across my channel, please do well to like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, alright? So let's get started. So the first thing I did was to go ahead to mark 1 inch, which is my shoulder line. So from there, I went ahead to mark my bust point, which is 10 inches. I marked my full front length, which is 17 inches. So now the full front length is different from the full back length. So my full front length is 17 and my full back length is 15 inches. The full front length is also called the half length, alright? So I went ahead to connect it. So the difference of that 2 inches is what we are going to use for the dart, side dart. So from there, I went ahead to divide my bust measurement into 4, which is 9 inches. 36 divided into 4, 9 inches. The same measurement is what I use on my waist. I went up to my shoulder line and I marked 0.7 to connect, and then I marked 2.5 inches just to get the neckline. So in order to connect the shoulder slope. So after I was done doing that, I went ahead to add half inch to the shoulder, which is going to use as a shoulder joining when I'm sewing my clothes. So from there, I went up from the shoulder, I went down to 8 inches, or I can as well went up from the bust point 2 inches upward to get my shoulder, to get my across chest measurement. So the same measurement I marked on the other side and I connect the lines just like what you are seeing on the screen. So after that, I divided my across chest measurement, which is 12 into 2, and I marked 6 inches and I connect the lines just like what you're seeing. So after that, I went ahead to place the same measurement I used for my bust and I marked it. So this distance from my bust to that across measurement, you divide it into 4 and I marked like that. So from there, I went ahead to mark to get the armhole contour. I marked the midpoint and I went in by 0.3 and I used my French curve to connect the lines just like what you are seeing on the screen. So after I was done doing that, I went ahead to mark my actual waist, which is 30 inches, and I connected the lines just like what you are seeing on the screen because there is no need for that here. So I went ahead to add 1 inch, which is going to be used for the sewing the seam allowance, and I added half inch for the armhole measurement. I did that all the way. So after I was done doing that, I went ahead to cut it. Remember, there is no need for it. So lest I forget, I added 2 inches. I told you that the difference between the full back length and the full front length is 2 inches, and that's what I'm going to use to get my side dart, my bust dart. So I'll just go ahead to mark it, and in order for you to know the distance on, I'll just go ahead and divide your bust band into 2 and connect it just like what you're seeing. So meaning that's what I'm going to sew. So I went ahead to cut it just like what you're seeing on the screen, and that was it for the front. Very simple. So I went ahead to place the front because there's no much difference. Alright, the only difference is just the side dart and the increase of the back armhole, back shoulder rather. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the 2 inches because I didn't want to start drafting another paper for the back. I marked the 2 inches that I actually used for the dart. Remember, I already said the difference between the back and the front is just the side dart, which is 2 inches. So I went ahead to fold it just like what you're seeing, and then I went ahead to connect the lines just to know that this is where the full back is starting. And on the back shoulder, remember the back shoulder is always more than the front. So my back shoulder is 14 inches. The across back is almost the same thing, and that was what I did. Remember the distance from there, you divide it into 2. Meanwhile, for the front, you divide it into 4. So I divided that into two, and I went ahead to connect the lines. So after I was done doing that, I went to the back because I didn't want the back to bulge, the zipper line to bulge. Alright, so after connecting, I connected the shoulder. So I went to the back to remove like 1 inch or 0.7, I think that's what I did. 0.7 inch um to in order to get the hollow effect of that back. Alright, you know the bag is not straight, it goes inside. So I went ahead to remove 0.7 and I connect it just like what you are seeing on the screen. After I was done connecting, I went ahead to add, which I label it zipper. I went ahead to add 1 inch to it, just like what you're seeing on the screen. After I was done doing that, I went ahead to cut it. So if this is your first time of coming across my channel and you watched this video to this point, please make sure you like, make sure you subscribe so that you can always get notifications whenever I post a new video. So after I was done doing that, I went ahead to cut it. Now the bag will normal board. Alright, so before I cut it out, I decided to add that for the back. So you get, I added 1 inch, and that 1 inch is going to be for the dart. So let's see how it's going to be. So I went ahead to add 1 inch and then connect it with my ruler. So after I was done connecting it, I went ahead to cut it. And how to get the dart, I make sure I notch the zipper line just like what you're seeing. I first of all trace out the 1 inch away. After I was done doing that, I went ahead to divide my bust span into 2 in order for me to get the dart line. So I divided it into 2. My bust span is 7.5. And I divided into, so where I marked that, where I marked that 3.75, I went ahead to connect it using my ruler. After connecting it, on the line where I marked, I will go ahead and share the 1 inch the other side and half inch on the other side, and just like what you're saying, I went ahead to connect it. So I've initiated the dart like that. So after I was done doing that, I went ahead to replicate the front. I didn't just want the video to be long, that's why I had to cut some parts, especially this. All I did was just to replicate the front pattern. Alright, and I went ahead to gum it using my masking tape. After I was done gumming it, I went up to the side and I marked 4 inches just for me to connect, because I didn't want it to, the overlapping to be to not be firm. So I marked 3 inches to get the neckline. In case you don't want your own to show your cleavage like mine, go ahead and mark like 2.5 inches. Alright, so after I was done doing that, I used my French curve. I just wanted it to have that curve shape. I didn't want it to be straight. I used my French curve to connect the lines, just like after I was done, I went ahead to cut it. We are done with the front. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and cut the back. I went ahead to place the back shoulder just to get the neckline, and I went down by 2 inches to cut the neck depth. Alright, so that means I used 3 inches for the width and 2 inches for the neck depth. So after I was done, I went ahead to cut it and I notched the dart just like what you're seeing. I also added my zipper line and I notched it. The front, I went ahead to notch it and I marked the center. So I also notched the dart side just like what you're seeing on the screen. Alright, so after I was done doing that, because the fabric is very thick, there was no need for, I went ahead to cut facing, and I was in a hurry because I wanted to wear this dress for my project defense. Alright, so this is what I did. After I finished doing that, I finished sewing the facing. I top stitch it just like what you are seeing here. There was no light again, but that's what I did. I went ahead to sew it just like what you are seeing on the screen. And I also, the next thing is to go ahead and brace it just like what you're seeing. So I've gone ahead to brace the front, so it's time to sew the seam allowance. Remember, I added 1 inch to it, so I'll go ahead and sew the 1 inch just like what you're seeing. So before then, I went ahead to sew the dart, measure the darts that I added, and it was time to cut the trouser. So the first thing I did was to go ahead and divide my thigh into two. My thigh is 24 and I divided into two, which is 12, and I added extra 3 inches to, because I didn't want the trouser to be very big. All right, so I went ahead to mark 3 inches all the way down. From there, I went ahead to measure my trouser length, which is 44. That's what I did, plus the, because I'm still going to fold it 1.5 downward, and I measured it. After I was done measuring, from there I went ahead to mark 9 inches, because of, it's jumpsuits, all right, and it's still going to go up, so I didn't want it to be affecting the thigh. So I went down to measure my crotch measurement, which is at 12.5. So instead of measuring 12.5, I added 1 inches, making 13.5, because it's jumpsuit. After I was done doing that, I went ahead to mark my knee. I connect the lines. I have to straighten the 3 inches that I measured all the way. Remember, the 3 inches is going to be for pleat. So after that I went ahead to mark my waist measurement, and I added 1.5 inches to it, which is going to be used for sewing. I went ahead to mark my hip measurement. On the hip line, my hip is 38, so I divided into 4 and added 1 inch to it, because since it's not a fitted trouser. And on the crotch length, I went ahead to divide my thigh into it. So remember how to get your crotch length. All right, just divide your hip into 3. Whatever you have, you marked it. But on this particular this thing, I added 1 inch, making 13.5. Remember, so because it's jumpsuits. So after I was done doing that, I went ahead to divide my crotch into 2 and I marked it all the way. There was no need for that, but I don't know why I did that. So after I was done doing that, I went ahead to cut it out. This one does not really take time because it's not pencil. So it was time to cut the back. All I did was to add 3 inches, extend the back by 3 inches, just like what you're seeing on the screen. I'm going to add 3 inches to the crotch line for sewing allowance, and the same measurement is what I'm going to use. So on the knee length, I added 2 inches because the trouser is already bogus, already is big. So on the hip line, I added 2 inches for sewing allowance and I connect it. Remember, I've already added 1.5, so all I needed to do was just to connect it from the hip line to my waist line, just like what you're seeing on the screen. So I'll connect it because that 1.5 will cover for everything. So after I was done, I went ahead to cut it rather, just like what you're seeing on the screen. So after I was done cutting, it was time for us to start sewing. Remember, I added 3 inches, so that's the 3 inches that I'm going to use. So it depends on you. If you want it to be more wider, you can add more than 3 inches. So the first thing you are going to do is to go ahead and mark ½ inch all the way and sew it, because that's the line you are going to sew. And the same thing for the back. You are going to, since it's jumpsuit, you are going to measure like 8 inches away or 9, depending on your style, and then sew the remaining downward. All right, after I was done doing that, it was time to do the pleats. Remember, I added 3 inches, so the first thing I did was to mark half of the measurement, and then from the midpoint of the front, I went ahead to mark 6 inches. So the remaining one was what I used for the plait. But before I did that, I made sure that my measurement did not, the pleating did not affect my actual measurement. So from there, I'll go ahead and mark 3 inches just like what you're seeing and do the pleat. So it depends on you. If you want the pleat to be after the center of the front trouser, you can do it. But this was how I wanted mine. Or you can, if you want to sew gathers, all right, gathers trouser, it's still the same method, but it's just that you're going to add more measurement, more inches. Instead of using 3, you can use 6 inches. So that means the trouser will now be more wider. All right, so that's what I did. Okay, so I went ahead to mark it and please fold the pleats just like what you're seeing on the screen, and then use my office pin to pin it down. So the same thing is what I did for the other side and as well as the back. Remember, in case you decide to sew Gada's jumpsuit or Gada's trouser, it's actually the same method. The only difference is that you are going to add more inches. Instead of 3 inches, you are going to add like 6 inches. Alright. So if you want me to do Gada's jumpsuit for us or Gada's trouser, please you can drop a comment in the comment section and I will do that right away. So after that, I went ahead to pin it just like what you're seeing on the screen. You can see it's already giving. So I went to the back as well. I've already sewn just like the way I said it, and I marked the same thing. I did the same thing just like I did on the front. All right. So after I was done doing that, I went ahead to plait it and I went ahead to iron it. This is the outcome. You can see it's already giving. This video I was in a hurry because I only had a day to go to school. So I went ahead, after I was done, I went ahead to sew it 1/2 inch all the way on both sides. So after I was done doing that, I went ahead to pin the front, the upper part to the trouser, just like what you're seeing on the screen. Remember, I've already braced it down and I went ahead to pin it, and this was the outcome after I finished joining it. So after I was done doing that, it was time for me to cut the armhole. I went ahead to measure the armhole to fix the sleeve rather. So I went ahead to measure the armhole, which is 8.5, and on the other side is the same thing, and it was time for me to cut the sleeve. The first thing I did was to mark the biceps, measure the fullness of the bicep, which is 6.5, and I went ahead to measure the length. I actually used total of 9, and I marked it where it's going to stop as well. So after I was done, I went ahead to mark the bicep line, which is 5 inches, and I marked the measurement, which is 6.5, and I added my seam inches, which is 1.5. I went up to the up and I marked one and then connect it to meet the 1 inch. I'm really sorry, the chalk was not really bold here. I think it's because of the fabric. So I went ahead to cross check my measurement. It was excess, right? So what I did at the end of the day was for me to add a little pleat to the shoulder. All right, little gathers. So I went ahead to connect it after taking the measurement, and I notched the center. After I was done, I folded 1.5 because I wanted it to be short, a little bit shorter than that, 9 inches. So the total of what I used was like 7 inches because I used half for joining, and then I folded 1.5 for the hemming allowance, and I used my to know that I was really in a hurry. I didn't sew the sleeve. I just folded. I used my hemming gum to do it. I went ahead to cut the second sleeves. Sorry guys, that's my baby's voice from the background. So I went ahead to fold it, and I went ahead to, you can see I used hemming gum because there was no time again. So I went ahead to fix the sleeve. So how to fix the sleeve from the seam line, add to it, and then sew it all the way. So after I was done, this was the outcome. All right, so if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please do well to do so. Thank you.